Welcome back, ballers. What a day in the news. What a day in the news. I believe I said that 2 weeks ago after the death of Pope Francis. This is a pre-recorded video the day after the announcement of the conclave coming to their announcement of the next Pope, the 267th Pope. And there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the latest news. But one thing I just want to open by saying is thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. I am recording this in the early hours of the next day of this news. So May 9th, 2025. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe along the way. I have been listening to a lot of folks like Decoding with Cody. He was shouting out Widow's Son for a lot of other great contributions. Please make sure you guys are following them as well. I'm going to take a couple pages out of their books as far as what they've already shared with regards to this latest news. I was very much out of pocket today, but I had a chance on my long drive home to catch up on some of the other podcasts and live stream. So please make sure to go back and especially watch Decoding with Cody's presentation and how much it ties back into the movie Euro Trip, believe it or not. For those of you close to my age, that came out in 2004, and you might be familiar with it or not, but it's very much tied to the Pope. About Americans going to Europe, and an American gets mistaken for a Pope. And now we have the first American Pope. Anyways, so I have titled this presentation, Kent Caldwell the Pope. And this goes back to the video I did the day of, or maybe it was the day after, either or. It was within 24 hours of the news, just about the death of Pope Francis. How big of a news story that was, which obviously makes the announcement of the new Pope just as big of news, honestly, in my opinion. But my last video, when it comes to the papacy, I was tying it back to Contavious Caldwell Pope. And as we go further into the presentation, I apologize in advance. I know it's a lot, but I do my best to try to keep all the information on one screen as I speak to it. But please leave feedback in the comments or in the chat once this gets posted about just any other ways I can help make this content easier to the eyes or easier to understand. Because ultimately, the last thing I want to do is just dump things on you guys. I hope that I can go slow enough to kind of break it down piece by piece. So once again, we're now talking about the latest announcement of Pope Leo XIV and how my last video about the death of Pope Francis directly ties in to all of this. I guess to start, just look at the bottom, you guys. Pope Leo. The guy's name is not actually Leo. His name is Robert Francis Prevost, however you pronounce it. But just look at that middle name, you guys. Cody did a great job of also looking into the actual meaning of the last name Prevost, which means someone to take charge or to take responsibility. So, I mean, 2/3 of his name alone just fit perfectly with him now taking charge in place of Pope Francis, which, by the way, that wasn't even his real name. Pope Francis's name was Jorge Mario Bergoglio. I think a lot of people don't even look even one layer beyond that. When they see Pope Francis, they just assume his name is Francis. just like with Pope Leo now, right? So just want to get that out there. But this slide goes back to what I shared in this video and how important this ritual was, because this is the time when Contavious Caldwell Pope was playing for the Lakers. And this photo was taken in Philadelphia the night that LeBron James passed Kobe Bryant in all-time scoring, wearing a Lakers uniform, doing it in Philadelphia. It was the only game in the entire regular season that they were scheduled to play in Philadelphia. Why does that matter? Because that's where Kobe Bryant is reportedly from, right? So make sure to go back and check out this video, because when you watch this, it's only 24 minutes. Ironically, Kobe wearing 24. It'll make more sense when you come back and watch this video. But moving forward into the latest announcement about Robert Francis Prevost, notice that now yesterday's date, but the date of the announcement of the new Pope, to the anniversary of when LeBron passed Kobe in all-time scoring, and the anniversary of when Caldwell Pope wore this shirt. It's a span of 263 days, just like the full name of Pope Leo, Robert Francis Prevost. Okay. Now let's take a look at Contavious Caldwell Pope's birthday, February 18th. One day after Michael Jordan's birthday. Rambo and I have been talking a lot about Michael Jordan this year. But February 18th, 1993. Well, let's just take a look at the date durations between Caldwell Pope's birthday and Robert Prevost's birthday, aka Pope Leo, right? So September 14th, Pope Leo's birthday, to Caldwell Pope's birthday, a span of 158 days. Well, what are the odds? You just take out the word Francis, 158, just like Freemasonry. And by the way, if you just add a single digit in Sumerian, you got that 158 as well in Sumerian with the same first and last name. So I don't have much else to say about that other than that I look at the Sumerian cipher. I think it's important. But I did think it was interesting that it pretty much falls right in line with that 158. So next, moving on. For those of you that don't know, one of the biggest things that they're really emphasizing about Pope Leo is that he is the first American Pope. And for those that don't know, he was born in Chicago. That's another shout out to Cody and Aquaviva, the whole Barack Obama connection. Barack Obama, produced the movie, what was it, Leave the World Behind, and The White Lion, and in the Vatican and all that stuff. They released the black smoke the first day, and then they released the white smoke the next day, and then you have the White Lion, which is a Leo. Anyways, I don't want to hijack or try to plagiarize, what they were doing. Just another shout out to you guys for those observations. But what I wanted to do was take this a different direction, just a little bit, but it falls right in line with everything I've been seeing and hearing from everybody else's observations. So we have the Chicago piece, but take a look at where he graduated from, you guys. He got his bachelor's degree from Villanova, Catholic University, right? But look what he majored in, you guys. Mathematics. Wow. Like, really? Mathematics? I don't know. I would just be curious what people would normally think that like people that aspire to be going up the Catholic ladder, if you will, to the Vatican, you're majoring in mathematics. I wonder why. To me, that right there really speaks to how powerful the kind of stuff that I, as well as Widow's Son, Cody, Aquaviva, Adam the Illusion, the list goes on, Rambo. Um, this is why this is important, you guys. It might not be important to you, but it is certainly important to them. So, anyways, notice how close Villanova is to Philadelphia. It's 12 miles. And that's just taking this route. So if you actually went from A to B, it's probably closer to, I don't know, what, 5 miles? It's really close. But that matters because Philadelphia is home of the 267 area code, which really matters because Pope Leo is now officially the 267th Pope in the history of the Catholic Church. That's interesting for a number of reasons besides what I just shared, but don't forget who just won the Super Bowl. Philadelphia, right? Cooper, DeJean, Cooper, copper, gold. We'll touch on that in a minute. So the next slide I'm going to share with you guys is really a combo of the latest news with a big story from last year. Okay. So today, right here, we had, or yesterday, excuse me, May 8th, we have Pope Leo pledging to build bridges. This is another big shout out to Cody as well as to Widow's Son, because Widow's Son did a wonderful video 2 weeks even prior to that about how he was the bridge about getting me and Cody more connected and Rambo and all that stuff. It was beautiful. But check this out. So yesterday, May 8th, Pope Leo is introduced and he talks about building bridges. Well, what happened the day before the announcement? The Knicks took a surprising 2-0 lead in the NBA. And Sports New York reports, look at this. Michael Bridges fittingly keyed Knicks Game 2 win over the Celtics. That's a very interesting choice of words if you guys can remember the big news story from last year. When the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. Okay, once again, Francis is the middle name of Pope Leo. And then you have Michael Bridges fittingly keyed Knicks Game 2 win. To me, that's a whole Francis Scott Key ritual right there in and of itself, on top of everything else that's been shared and observed. But to go even a little bit deeper, just so you guys know, in the NBA, the Knicks, who have a surprisingly 2-0 lead now over Boston, they are nicknamed the Nova Knicks. And the reason that is because three of their main players, Jalen Brunson, number 11, playing for New York, the 11th state, right? He's their main player, but part of the Nova Knicks, because these players played at Villanova, where Pope Leo went to school. One of those three players, well, actually, I'll just point out, notice that Josh Hart is one of them, kind of like how I've talked about the city of brotherly love, the heart, and all that stuff. That can just be added into that story. But notice that Michael Bridges is one of them as well. Michael, we're in the year of Michael Jordan. the upside down plane crash on his birthday, the banners burning in his arena, all that stuff. But Michael Bridges, right? Don't forget what we were just talking about: Scott Key Bridge, building bridges, etc. I mean, what are the odds that of these players of the Nova Knicks, 2 of them are wearing 11 and 25, just like Pope? These are the base reduction ciphers, you guys. This is very simple math. So moving on a little bit, I'm going to tie Michael Bridges now back to Contavious Caldwell Pope. So Contavious Caldwell Pope, his birthday is February 18th, like we talked about. So in other words, the announcement of Pope Leo becoming the new Pope took place exactly 79 days after Caldwell Pope's birthday. It's weird because Michael Bridges equals 79 in the reverse reduction cipher. The odds of that are slim to none. We're going to kind of start winding it down here, but I wanted to touch on a couple other things. Don't forget about Donald Trump's golden age speech when he got introduced back into the limelight. He's always been in the limelight, but you know what I mean. When he came back as president, don't forget about the simple things like his what was it? An AI image came out with him as the next pope right after the death of Pope Francis at age 88, and Trump equals 88 and a million other things, tying right back to the Golden Gate Bridge, by the way. But just think about that golden age, Golden Gate Bridge, right? That's another shout out to Cody. He's been talking about that for a while, among other folks as well. So I just want to give credit where it's due, where I can. So the Golden Age, right? Cody talked a lot about the Golden Spiral and the Phi. It's amazing, you guys. But think about it from an alchemy perspective. I was terrible in chemistry back in the day. And I'm not good at it now, that's for sure. But just think about how in alchemy, I'm sure a lot of you maybe had to read The Alchemist in school. If you went to public or private school, it's very common. But just think about this. In alchemy, the sun symbolizes gold, right? And then we think about Leo. Well, Leo is the lion. The lion represents the sun. Okay? And notice that today, or yet once again, yesterday, this from the time of when this video posts, today is May 9th. I'm talking about yesterday, May 8th, the date of the announcement of Pope Leo. Look what happened in the NBA, you guys. We have the Golden State Warriors with the bridge as their logo, which, by the way, this is apparently not the actual Golden State Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, sorry. It's the brother bridge. But anyways, just notice, look at the matchup, first of all. Golden State Warriors and then Minnesota Timberwolves, where the wolf is howling at the moon. This goes back to a lot of my other content, talking about the eclipse from last year, the sun and moon connections, etc. But there's a reason why Golden State lost with 93 points. Because they tell us that the sun is roughly 93 million miles away. That's what they tell us. And there's a lot more to be said about that when it comes to Christ Jesus, etc. That's not where I'm going with this, but just so you guys know, 117 Golden State Warriors equals 117. So to me, a perfect alignment with everything Cody's been talking about with the gold connections, and Golden State loses with 93 points, tying right back to the sun, and the sun symbolizes gold, right? The last slide I'm going to share with you, because this one I already pointed out. just the 2511 connection. But the last thing I want to close with, it was hard for me to try to make it visually appealing, so I apologize. But think about this. Robert Francis Prevost was announced to the world on the day of the week named after the moon. Actually, you know what? No, that's wrong. Wow, I messed that up. Jupiter. Thursday's named after Jupiter. I'm so dumb. Consider that a blooper. You guys can add that to the highlight reel. But I guess in other words, look at it this way. When I take that out, just think about Pope Francis and how he went out, right? He was last shown at the Vatican for one final time on Easter Sunday, and then he was announced dead on Easter Monday. Monday is named after the moon. And the Golden State Warriors, just so you guys know, they're based in San Francisco, right? They lose to the Wolves, whose logo is howling at the moon. Right? So I apologize for that blooper there. For some reason, I thought Jupiter was related to the moon. Maybe I was. I don't know. Maybe it was, but I'm not going to confidently speak to things that I don't know about. So I apologize for that blooper there. I thought I was going to take it home, but at least we got something to laugh about, right? At the end of the day, I'm just sharing observations. I hope you guys enjoyed what I had to share. There's always more to be added. Always. But hopefully I can add another layer to it for everybody else's observations and decodes. And I look forward to seeing more from you guys. And you guys will see me very soon. So love always. Take care of yourself.